Oh, Stormy's there too.
I'm well. This will be my first time doing this on Zoom. It's good being and socializing. I slept a good 10 hours, so that felt nice.
Do you have COVID too, Stormy?
I don't. I tested and I just have a regular cold funk that's just, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't met. Do you go in person?
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't think we've met. No.
Is it, how do you say, is it Jean?
Jean, yeah, just
Yeah.
regular boring name.
Nice to meet you, Jean.
Nice to meet you.
No, I see it back there too. Glad we don't have tech today, so we can just enjoy the background. For those, it's snowing here. It's super fun to watch the late people come in. Everyone's hugging each other. It's a fun view up here. Rowan, what piece was that?
That was People Get Ready by Curtis Mayfield, and I arranged it right on the spot.
You did a beautiful job. It was awesome. Thank you. Let's make this thing official. Welcome, everyone. First and foremost, I screw up names a lot, and we've had a lot of sick people here recently, so my script says something totally different. So if I say a name wrong, apologies in advance. Thank you to Gay and Stormy, who are home, who are supposed to be doing this, so I'm filling in. So my name is Catherine Sullivan. I got that right. She, her, and I'll be your service leader today. If you're visiting, please participate as you feel comfortable. You're invited to stay and introduce yourself in conversation following the service. Our congregation is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion, which enriches the spirit. We are mostly lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by weaving together the volunteer contributions of members and friends. Our community is supported by our quarter-time minister, Reverend Victoria Poling, and she'll be here next weekend. Yay. Victoria connected us to our speaker today, Reverend Justin. So we acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Swabash Coast Salish Native people. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship and commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the Indigenous people of this land and beyond. And I think it's time we start doing something. As we begin our service, please take a couple of breaths to become fully present. Relax and bring your attention into this moment of communal reflection and sharing. Find your sit bones. If you feel comfortable, put your feet. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Deep breath in. Hold. Slow release. One more time. That was perfect. Thank you. Mute your phones. So instead of Stormy, we're going to have Jerry come, Jim, sorry, I told you guys, Jim, come and light our chalice. Say the words, I'll light the chalice.
In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement that our values may guide our choices. Let us first look to the response of love. Oh, and Rowan, thank you for that very hip taste of Curtis Mayfield.
So I have the honor of introducing our guest speaker today. I'd like to now introduce Reverend Justin Almeida. You'll have to, we're just gonna call him Reverend Justin. They is a community minister and chaplain affiliated with the University Unitarian Church. They provide spiritual care at Swedish Cherry Hill Hospital and serve on the advisory boards of End of Life Washington and the Seattle University of, I struggle with words, interreligious engagement. I can't even do the one before that. When not parenting, partnering, and working, you can find him figuring out creative ways to ferment various foods and drink. Welcome, Reverend Justin.
Before we begin, let us turn our hearts, our minds, and our bodies to the sheer fact that this morning, we have the breath of life. that whatever brought this breath to us, it gave us passage through the night, through the snow, through the rain, through the water. That when we woke up this morning, we could breathe. And with that breath, choose, what will we do? Our first reading comes from a Zen koan from the 7th century titled "The Tigers and the Strawberry." A woman was walking along a path in a forest, minding her own business, enjoying the sun, the breeze, the smell of the green, the dust on the path, until suddenly she hears a small branch snap and realizes as she turns that a tiger is stalking her. She begins to run, and another tiger joins the hunt. She panics, goes off the path, dodges between trees and bushes, trying to lose the tigers. Eventually, she comes to the edge of a cliff, and the tigers slow, and they prowl toward her. She then sees that there are some vines going down the cliff, and so grabbing hold, she starts making her way down, knowing that the tigers can't follow her, and the tigers growl and start pacing at the top of the cliff. She breathes a sigh of relief until she looks down and sees more tigers. As she looks around for what to do in this situation, she realizes that in all of this commotion that there is a mouse that has come out and now has started to chew on the vines. She is filled with despair. Closing her eyes, she prepares for death. But when she opens her eyes, she suddenly notices a beautiful, bright little bunch of strawberries growing close to her. So she looks up, she looks down, she looks at the mouse. Then she takes a succulent, ripe strawberry, puts it in her mouth, and enjoys it thoroughly. Thus ends this teaching.
Thank you, Reverend Justin. So now we're going to sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Rowan's going to play the melody to get us warmed up as we rise in body and spirit. Number 131, Love Will Guide Us. If those that love to sing want to come up here and help join, lead us, that's always appreciated. 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Thank you, Rowan, for the music. And so, good morning, friends. Thank you for having me once again at your fellowship. I really appreciate being able to journey from North Seattle to here, where it's a little more peaceful, a little more snowy, and intensely, intensely beautiful. I don't know if anybody is aware, but yesterday, February 1st, was the Feast of Imbolc. We made it to springtime. Even though it might not feel like it from the snow outside, as our days get longer, the spirit of life and love is pushing sprouts out of the ground, inviting life to begin again in that constant wheel of birth, growth, fruitfulness, and fallow. Imbolc, also known as St. Bridget's Day, is the Celtic tradition of gratitude for life returning into the world. Candles are lit in honor of the light. Ancient crosses, well before Christianity, are woven to ward off misfortune. Seeds are planted. There is something to be learned from the wheel of life, which is famously read from the Jewish tradition. For everything, there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. One of our own Unitarian Universalist saints, Pete Seeger, sang these words in homage to everything. Turn, turn, turn. There is a season. Turn, turn, turn. The lesson being that while we human beings may need to live in this time of change and turbulence, nature, creation, the cosmos, offers the soothing embrace of reassurance, inviting us to remember that even though Trump is in office trying to burn down our democracy, life keeps doing what life does, which is live. The sprouts in the ground just lasted a season frozen in place. They now answer the call not to stay wrapped up in a seed, but with a powerful push, they come up through the ground, not because they're forced, but because it is either grow or die. Anais Nin wrote, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom." Siblings in faith, we are in a time in which life and love is pulling us out of our shells and into the world, so that we too may live, which after this last January is a little bit of a daunting invitation. Another time and season is upon us, a time of fascism and ideological turmoil. In the hospital I work at, stories are emerging. Patients and families and staff ask me, am I safe? Will I get fired because I'm queer? Is ICE going to arrest me in my hospital bed? Will I lose my job because I'm Black? Is Swedish going to protect me or turn me in? People are afraid. And I notice that fear is carried mostly by those communities always targeted. Fear is the point. Overwhelm is the point. The onslaught day after day on the most marginalized is intentional. Unlike life, this administration of white nationalists and Nazis and oligarchs want to make things so inhospitable that we refuse to grow. It is an old playbook, and we've seen it time and time again. Shock and awe is the operation, if anybody remembers that. It's not going to get easier, at least not right now. We are at that point where there are tigers above us, tigers below us, and rodents sabotaging the lifelines. Giving up in such a situation would be easy and understandable. So many are already exhausted and afraid. I often accompany patients in these similar situations who have been worn down by illness and by injury. They understand what it means to live under siege, and they ask questions. When will it just be all too much? When will I die? I'm so tired of fighting. They look to me for an answer, perhaps permission to let go. Fortunately, those decisions and answers are above my pay grade. Often, my reflection to these questions and statements is just let us know when the quantity no longer has quality. And only you can tell us when that is. Siblings, our medicine has become so advanced that we can keep a human body alive for years with machines that pump our hearts, clean our blood, breathe for us, feed us. The medical institutions now are less concerned about keeping people from dying. I notice now that the focus is how to help people fully live with the time they have. Quality over quantity, which is perhaps one of the secrets to the Zen koan about the strawberries and the tiger. Siblings, where are your strawberries? And by strawberries, meaning where are those unexpected, beautiful, tasty, delicious, indulgent, joyful opportunities that are often present in the midst of turmoil? Our culture of death would like us to despair and not seek these strawberries at the moment because there are more pressing matters to attend to. But this is folly. The forces outside of these church walls that seek to hurt and kill all that stands in the way of what bell hooks would call the imperialist, white supremacist heteropatriarchy don't want us to have joy. They don't want us to rest or to have awe or wonder or love. They want us tired and exhausted and not able to think straight. Because that's when we're most vulnerable. When we're weakest and fighting for scraps, rather than coming together to notice the hoard of abundance locked away by the powers and principalities. Often a family member or friend or patient will remark, every time I find a moment of laughter and joy, I feel guilt and shame. Who am I to feel good when my loved one is dying? Or I can't leave the bedside to eat or drink or shower or sleep. What if my loved one dies while I'm gone? I wouldn't be able to forgive myself. Just last week, an RN I work with told me about a vacation to Hawaii that they've been planning with their family, and how they feel ashamed that they are taking off while the world burns and are thinking about canceling their trip. My answer to them, just as my answer to all of the people who feel torn because of joy, is, beloved, there is no moral righteousness to pointless suffering. There is no moral righteousness to pointless suffering. Which is not to be confused with the sometimes redemptive power of pain. Pain, as an experience, can move me into solidarity with others who know pain. Our words, empathy, compassion. These come from the Latin word pathos, which one of the definitions means to have a sense of another person's pain. And that provides me energy with which to journey alongside this experience because I know pain. And we journey together until both of us come out the other side. But to withhold that which is life-giving out of a sense that others are worse off is a theological heresy against our Unitarian Universalist belief in love and abundance. Do not light yourself on fire to keep others warm. I've learned that to be at the protest or the rally or the bedside or the memorial in a way that contributes to the well-being of life and love requires the energy and resilience only found by opening myself up to that which sustains me. Put in another way, friends, be sure to keep your tanks full. Otherwise, you're going to break down on the side of the road. Womanist poet Toy Derricott wrote a work titled "Joy is an Act of Resistance," which has since become a mantra in the struggle for justice and liberation. The poem goes like this. Why would a Black woman need a fish to love? Why did she need a flash of red living in the corner of her eye? As if she could love nothing up close but had to step away from it, come back to drop a few seeds and let it grab onto her, as if caught her on some hook that couldn't hurt. Why did she need a fish to write of? A red thorn, or among the thorns, that flower? What does her love have to do with 500 years of sorrow? Then joy, coming up like a small breath, a bubble. What does it have to do with the graveyards of the Atlantic in her mother's heart? Why would a Black woman need a fish to love? Because that fish provided joy. That's it. No other reason. It was living and colorful and simple, and for a moment can just remind us too, as Dory, the fish in the movie Finding Nemo, says, just keep swimming. Asian Canadian social worker Lorraine Lamb writes in her article, Reimagining Joy, joy gives us the energy for change, to resist the oppressive structures and status quo that make us tired and apathetic. Joy isn't turning a blind eye to pain and burying our head in the sand. Joy is an invitation to resist the status quo and lean into the pursuit of justice. This is not just theory. When I attend the bedside of a patient who is dying or already has passed, amid the tears and silence of gathered family and friends, I will ask, who are they? Who is your loved one? Most likely before that moment, I had never met them. And so I asked the people who love them, who are they? And people began to talk about their loved one. They began to share stories, and often these stories are hilariously joyful. A spouse begins to share about a patient's love of fishing and how that brought them joy and consternation. An adult child will then remark on a hilarious memory of a fishing trip that they took. A sibling of the patient will recount how bad the patient was at fishing. A friend will then talk about the time they were with the patient out on the river and a fish jumped and slapped them both in the face, which then caused them to tumble out of the boat into the water. And soon people are laughing. They're still crying, but they're laughing. And there's joy, not at the death, not at the dying. There's joy at a life that was lived, that found something in their life that touched everybody else who was in that room. Where before there was silence and mourning, there was also joy and gratitude, which is why a common prayer in the Jewish tradition for all those who have passed is, may their memory be a blessing. Joy is a blessing and our inheritance as creatures who are capable of laughing into the face of adversity. So as we come into this year and into the springtime, where are the strawberries? They're there. They'll be here. But what joyful resistance will help keep us alive as we move into this year? It begins with accepting that joy is essential to human survival. Your joy is essential to your survival, which is counter to the hustle culture of work and burnout. Remember that we are human beings, not human doings. It's up to each of us to be joyful, not do joy. The koan that I read teaches that joy can be anywhere. We just have to look for it. In recent psychological studies, researchers have found that human beings have the capacity to seek and evoke joy rather than just waiting for it to happen. We can do this each and every day. The science proves it. A colleague of mine practices a joy jar in which every single day they write down on a slip of paper something that brought them joy. Like a stranger bought them a cup of coffee, or they saw a rainbow coming home from work, or while eating lunch, they noticed a flower and spent just a few minutes contemplating its existence. Whatever it is, they write it down and place it in a jar, and throughout the year, they watch this jar fill with moments of joy, and they have physical proof that joy is alive in their life. A daily gratitude practice can be indispensable for the activation of joy. When I get to work and the office is quiet and dark, I put on some hot water. get some tea ready, play some music. And then when the tea is ready, I cup it with both hands. I take a deep breath in, smelling the steam, the flavors of the leaves, and I give thanks for just one thing in that morning that could have been otherwise. Grateful that I have access to something so simple as the kiss of a partner the night before, or a hug from a child, or the run of green lights that gave me 5 extra minutes from which to enjoy my tea. We are also called to engage in activities that enliven our senses. When eating food, take just a few moments to deeply enjoy the flavor and the texture. There's a mindfulness practice, if anybody enjoys chocolate, of placing just a small bit on the tongue and just leaving it there, letting it melt, closing the eyes, and letting the flavors just emerge on the palate. Listen to music, smell flowers, dance, create art, run, hold somebody's hands, go on vacation. Whatever it is, we have the capacity to reflect and revel in the amazement of the now. Activities don't have to be churchy in order to be spiritual. I've heard people talk about walking in the woods the same way evangelicals talk about praise and worship music. Embrace the joy of time and space and moment. Find time for joyful solitude and rest. All living things need time to recover from the activity of living. Everything alive. If scripture even has to say about it, even God rested. And if the creator of the universe has to do that, I don't know what that says about me. But we all need rest. And now, solitude is not necessarily isolation. Isolation is when I push all that is connecting and life-giving away, and I run and I hide. I isolate myself because perhaps living is too painful. Solitude is the intentional practice of making retreat for rejuvenation. Turn off email for a day. Take a walk. Read a book, get a massage, find a space that removes the pressure to do and do and do and go and go and go. Take joy in the simplicity of just being and let go of the weight. And you all know the weight that I'm talking about. The sack that each of us carries of the shoulds and coulds and woulds. Solitude and retreat invites us just for a moment to put that down. It'll be there when we're ready and to pick it back up. In those spaces, breathe and stretch and weep and laugh and meditate and prepare. Finally, remember that joy is something that no one can take away. They may come and take my possessions. They may incarcerate me. They may beat me. They may even kill me. But they can't take my being. It's impossible. They can take everything, but they cannot take my being. This last week, I happened upon a patient who is a very old and grizzled activist in the Pacific Northwest. In his stories of civil rights and farm workers and protests and Indian movements and organizing, he told me that now is not much different than what has come before. He said, Jim Crow was fascism. Segregation and deportation was fascism. The war on drugs was fascism. Mass incarceration was fascism. We learned that the one thing La Policía couldn't take from us was our spirit, our joy, our love, our music and song. MLK had moments of joy in Birmingham jail because he had faith. Siblings, we also have faith. Faith in an arc of history that bends towards justice. Faith in a tradition with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that serve. Faith in the best of who we can be as a species. And faith that no one gets free until everyone is free. In closing, though there may be tigers around us, there are also strawberries. There are more strawberries than there are tigers. Those sweet, delicious, unexpected moments that offer sustenance to our spirit, do not let them pass you by. They are acts of resistance against all that wants to take your joy away. So may we strive to be joy to the world, and in the spirit of Imbolc, answer the call of life and be courageous and come out of our buds and bloom into this world, for this is our time and our season under heaven. May it be so. Amen.
So Rowan, please tell us what that was.
So this is a traditional African-American hymn, Sweet, Sweet Spirit.
Sweet, sweet spirit.
Lift every voice and sing. 1, 2.
Thank you for the blessing of the words and the music, Reverend Justin and Rowan. It's a gift to have you in our presence today. So now I have to go back to talking, which is always hard. So it's come to that time of the service where we're going to do joys and concerns. Shout out to Kirk for stepping up to do tech help. We have limited tech help today. So if you're with us through Zoom, thank you for being here. Just, we're not going to share your joys or concerns. Just know that we hold you in our heart and we look forward to having you in person again sometime soon. So as a caring community, we set aside time to share the joys and concerns of our members and friends, honoring the common humanity and sacred spirit within each of us. We support each other in difficult times and celebrate our joys together. If you have a joy that you would like to share or a burden that might be eased by sharing it in community, you're invited to briefly share it. For those of us here, you can come up any way you want and share your joy or concern. So let's take a moment in silence to cultivate an open heart. Rowan will join us with it, and please sing loud because I'm not going to sing in the mic. We'll get it. Thank you, Rowan. That little extra, just the seal and the kiss. So we're going to resume recording. He's on it. So let's do our offering. As members and friends of the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists, we commit to supporting our congregation. Financial resources help us pay speakers and staff, support our social justice programs. We've been busy, our social justice team, so please give. And maintain our building. Please support VIUU with your pledges and offerings so that we can continue to be a vital community. This week, the plate collection goes towards us. So I invite our greeters to pass around the offering baskets. Rowan, if you feel comfortable, let's do We Give Thanks.
So thank you all for joining us this morning. We have a final reading to send us on our way. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with grace every day. Friends, go in peace to love and serve the world.
So before we go into the world, we're going to sing one more time. Hymn number 168, One More Step, because that's what we have to do. Just keep going, keep stepping forward. So number 168 in your gray hymnal, please stand in body or in spirit. Rowan, if you can, just sing the little melody once through. Those that want to join me up here, do it. 168, One More Step. I have to find it. Yeah, I'll make it fit.
Okay, I get to read the chalice extinguishing words, which are Love Remains the Center by Eric Hepburn. I love this. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we see is cold ashes, love remains. Thank you.
Did it. Good job, everyone. Woo, I want to give, so that our formal service is now over. Let the fun begin. I want to give a special thanks to everyone here and not here. Y'all made it happen. Reverend Justin, Rowan, big, huge shout out. Stormy, where it wasn't here. Jim, me, setup group number 1. You guys, it's beautiful. There's blooms in that camellia bush when I was standing there. So spring is coming, friends. It's the first Sunday of the month. Woohoo! On the first Sunday of each month, we like to set aside a little time to honor those in our community celebrating birthdays. I think that's Pamela for sure during the month. So anybody that has a birthday in February, come on up. We're gonna sing your praises by singing happy birthday. And those online, you'll get your pencil. I usually don't have to do this. February birthday. Rowan, I didn't ask to do this, but can you do happy birthday? Birthday to you. Birthday, dear. Happy birthday. Day to you. That's always fun. So now we're on to announcements. If anyone has an announcement related to a VIUU activity, please line up somewhere and tell us all about it. Anybody? I can tease next week. I know Reverend Victoria is going to join us next Sunday. I didn't look up her title, so I'm sorry, but I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. So join us next Sunday.
Yes, that I don't know that one either. But after the service next Sunday at 2:00 before the Super Bowl, for those of you who watch that, it will be Sally Betts's memorial that Judy and Reverend Victoria and others are working on. So that will be here, and there will be food, savory and sweet. So please come next Sunday. It's in the Beachcomber also, 2 p.m. And thank you for that wonderful, wonderful words and message, Reverend Justin. And as a UU activity, because they are UU members who are leading the Vashon Oneness Center, Amy Huggins, Jim Packwood, Julia Lakey, and I would love to help you fill yourself up so that you can go do the good work you need to do. Every Monday, we offer from 5 to 6 p.m. at the Senior Center, our new venue, which is wonderful. It's nice and warm in there, to help you work on your inner self so that you may become clear-headed and able to have solutions and energy to do what you need to do. We would love to help you with that. And our community, we are growing and growing, and we'd love to have you be there. Okay.
For Sally's service next Sunday afternoon, garden flowers are in short supply right now. If each of you would pick up a few flowers at Thriftway or at someplace, and everybody bring a small bouquet so we can make this look like a spring garden to honor Sally, I would really appreciate it. I have some rain-washed camellia buds, and that's about it. Thank you.
I want to have a picture of Vicky, Amy, and Alex. You guys all have your beautiful fisherman's sweaters and you look really good. You need to get together to celebrate that. Just a plug, there is a link to a survey in the newsletter. Y'all donated a lot of money last year, and so now we need to spend it. And maybe there's other ideas beyond what was typed out for you, because times are changing rapidly. So please look for that in your newsletter. So no one else? So now let's stand and sing Go Now in Peace. And then when we're done with that, go eat some nourishment. Maybe there's some strawberries there. Go now in peace. Go now in peace.
May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good Sunday.